Well, today's episode is going to sound a little different from the ones I've been doing. And I want to just say right up front, I don't have everything mapped out yet. And I don't have all the answers neatly wrapped in a package. But what I do know is when God starts stirring something, it's usually not polished at first, and it's heavy, and it's holy, and it's just meant to be listened to. Over the last few days, I've been praying and just talking to the Lord. And my heart has really been for the young people that I just love so much. I love to think about and pray about our kids who feel so lost and confused and overwhelmed today in the world that we live in. And God has just really begun to widen the vision I have for them and how He sees them. God didn't just show me about one child and one in particular. He shows me about our kids. He shows me about youth, and He showed me things about the generation growing up right now in systems that weren't designed to tell them who they are. I believe God's stirring something right now for our kids, for our schools, and for their identity. So today, I'm not coming to you with a sermon or a TED Talk. It's just a shepherd's heart, prophetic conversation from my heart to yours. Because before we can fix anything, we have to remember what God intended in the first place. Here's what our kids need to know. This is what God's been showing me. And honestly, what many of us as adults still need to unlearn. It's not about the color of your skin, and it's not about whether someone next to you is more athletic, more artistic, more confident, more gifted, or even a celebrity sitting next to you. It doesn't mean that in any way our world celebrates them any different. It doesn't mean that you're less than them. God did not create a hierarchy of value. I hope you hear that. He created individuals is what He created. Every single person, think about this. Every single person carries a unique thumbprint, a unique fingerprint, something no one else in history has ever carried or ever will again. It's very interesting to learn that. And if you never thought about that, when I had fingerprints done as a school teacher, they had a hard time finding my fingerprints because I'm an artist. But anyway, we all have individual fingerprints and thumbprints. That's why they do fingerprints and thumbprints on us to identify us. But anyway, God didn't do that by accident. He did it by design. Have you ever thought about that? He designed some people to be gifted in ways that the world applauds, like sports athletes, people who perform in theater, actors or actresses, leadership, and others are gifted in ways that are a little bit quieter, like they listen better than anybody else. They observe very well. They're very creative, but they're silent. They're very nurturing, or they solve problems very well. But God doesn't rank our gifts the way culture does. Isn't that interesting? Your gift is not more valuable because it's more visible. And your worth is not reduced because someone else shines in a different way. Comparison was not something that God designed for us to do. You were never meant to compete for your identity and who God made you to be. You were meant to walk in your own identity and who you are. Well, somewhere along the way in all of this, we started teaching kids explicitly or inexplicitly, however you want to look at it, that their value was tied to their performance. I saw this as an educator and still have seen this as somebody who coaches and educates and works with teachers and young adults and parents, that their value is tied to their performance, their grades, their test scores, to behavior charts in school, and achievements. But worth was settled the moment God formed you. Before you ever produced anything and performed, before you ever proved anything, I want you to hear this. Before you did any of those things, you were already valuable. And back to every child being born with a unique fingerprint, they were also born with a unique mind and a God-given design. Yet, somewhere between kindergarten and graduation, we teach them to forget who they are. Now, hear me clearly. I am not attacking teachers or schools. Many educators are doing the very best they can inside a system that they didn't design. Trust me, I understand this greatly because I worked in the schools for over 20 years and I saw it and I struggled with it myself. These systems that the schools are now were built for efficiency, not individuality. Not today's school systems, they aren't. We pour information into the kids, just information after information after information into them, but we rarely teach them how their brain works and their brain learns. And everybody is different, so everybody's brain works differently, it processes differently, it learns, it grows differently. We teach them the knowledge, the information, like putting it into a computer in a way, but we're not teaching them understanding. We're not teaching them and making sure what they're learning can be applied and they can apply it in every area of their life, that they really are getting it. And the wisdom only comes when knowledge is applied in a way that God designed us. And if a child never learns how they learn, they will always feel left behind. They'll feel less than. They won't feel like they are fulfilling anything. Even when they are brilliant, they'll still feel this way. So what happens then when our kids move from elementary school and then to middle school and then to high school, and they've been fed all this knowledge and not taught understanding, and then they move into college and they don't know who they are and how they think for themselves? What happens? Well, by this time, they've learned to comply, so they comply. And they learn how to survive, but not to thrive. They don't always learn how to be, and that's what they need to learn, is how to be. And trust me, when their identity gets lost, what happens? Anxiety arises, and the motivation drops, and comparison takes over. I have seen this time and time and time again, and I see it time and time again today with all the young adults and people that I work with. It's not a discipline issue. It's really an identity issue. It's an issue of being valued and finding value in yourself and knowing who you are. This is why I created for this year a new reset challenge for young people, for adults, for whoever wants to use it. It's designed to help with more than helping with procrastination or loss of focus or bad habits or lack of confidence. It's to help people define their identity and start off the new year to find their identity. Because when you understand how God has wired your brain and how you process and how you focus and how you create, then you stop fighting yourself and you start learning how your own brain works, and that it doesn't have to work in this secular world and ideas. It helps you to steward your own self, and it honors the way God formed you to be. And when your identity comes first, then your behavior, the way you think, the habits that you've had that maybe aren't so good, they begin to change naturally. And that's when freedom comes in. I just want to take the time as we close today, and I want to give an invitation to you. Not just to listen and hear what I've had to say, but think about it. And I want you to not just listen, but to participate. Because when we begin to understand our identity, our own and others' identity, it naturally leads us to serve one another. This is where real culture change begins. If we want schools to change, if we want learning environments to change, if we want the world our kids are growing up in to look different than it does right now, then value has to come before performance. When a child knows that they are seen and heard and valued as an individual, something begins to shift. I have seen it so many times. When you take the time to show value and let somebody know that they are seen and heard, man, things begin to shift and change in their life. When students learn that their worth is not based on the comparison or grades or their behavior, but on how God created them to be, oh man, they begin to see others so differently too. This is where parents matter. This is also where educators matter. This is where homeschool families matter and where churches matter. Together, we can help students learn not just information, but their identity. We can teach them to honor God's design in their minds and who they are. We can help them to recognize the value in the person sitting next to them, even when they're different. Yay! And when that happens, oh man, culture begins to change, and we need that today. It's not changing because of the policies or programs alone that we seem to focus so greatly on, but it's because hearts are aligned with the truth that God has for us, the truth that we are designed by Him and we are individuals. So this is an invitation to serve the next generation by helping them discover who they are in God, to serve our schools and our communities by modeling honor, individuality, and wisdom. It's an invitation to serve the world by raising young people who don't need to tear others down to know who they are. Wouldn't that be amazing? This is how a culture begins to shift, and this is how schools change, and this is how the world around us changes. It changes one child, one classroom, and one family at a time. No one was ever meant to be institutionalized. We were created to be individuals. We were created with intention. And when we help others to be able to walk in that truth, we don't just change education, we change generations. Just remember, together we can help others to do the same. Well, thank you for being with me today. I hope you have enjoyed this episode, and I hope that it gives some thought to it. And I hope that you'll take my invitation and begin to participate yourself in what we've talked about today. So this is Dara, and I will be with you next time.